Your business, your rules. Grow a business that works for you. This is the Her Business Podcast. Hi, and welcome to the Her Business Podcast. I'm Susie Daphnis. I'm your host, and I'm the CEO at Her Business. And today's episode is a personal one. I'm sharing the story of a big decision I made this year, one that surprised a lot of people, and honestly, it required a whole new level of courage and self-trust from me. So this year, I decided to walk away from one of our top revenue streams, and to do that on purpose. And that revenue stream is our popular Marketing Success Mastermind. Now, I have co-hosted this program for 10 years with Michelle Falzon, and it has supported over 100 women and a couple of men to improve their marketing results, and it has been an incredibly special part of our Her Business product suite. And I didn't walk away because it wasn't working. I let it go because I was evolving, and I no longer felt like I was growing in that environment. The business was asking me to evolve, and what started as whispers became louder and louder that something had to change. And sometimes the bravest thing that we can do as women business owners is to follow that quiet voice, that quiet nudge that says, this chapter has done what it came here to do, and now it's time for what's next. So if you've been feeling pulled to shift something in your own business, if that's a program or an offer, or a business model, or even an identity that you've built that once fit you perfectly, but now feels like clothing that's too tight, then this episode is for you. And before we get into why I made the decision to walk away and to let it go, I want to give you some context, because this wasn't just any program or something that, we tried and it worked or it didn't work. It didn't last a year or two. It's something that I'd built and my team and I have nurtured for over a decade. So let me take you back to the beginning. So the program was developed after my dear friend, Michelle Falzon, who I mentioned, and we had run a few marketing courses together. And we noticed something really important. A lot of the women didn't want to take a course and then be left on their own to figure everything out. They wanted ongoing support, more connection, more momentum. So we realized there was a real need for a program that provided consistency. A space where smart, committed women could come together, they could get support, they could keep building their businesses side by side. Right? That's how a mastermind works, that's how our mastermind works, and that is how the mastermind was born. And the program brought together Michelle's marketing brilliance and my decades of business building experience and my experience in marketing and planning and starting and growing and selling businesses and building teams and systems and running events and everything. It was a great way to bring our two strengths together. And from the beginning, my intention was to offer a high-level, high-touch experience for women who were ready for the next level of support and to introduce something that we hadn't done before into the Her Business range of services. And so for a decade, the mastermind did exactly that. Now, even though the mastermind was successful and deeply impactful, I began to notice a shift. Not in the program, but a shift in me. For me, there were a few early signs, and maybe you felt some of these signs too. There was this quiet sense of resistance, of my body saying, something doesn't feel right. And it wasn't because what I was doing was hard. It was because it was no longer lighting me up the same way. And I felt like my energy was being pulled away from where I really needed to be focused right now in this time in my business. And the Marketing Mastermind only allowed me to use some of my gifts and abilities because the focus was purely on marketing. Now, we ventured into some other things like how to resource marketing and marketing teams and planning your marketing, all those things, but it was still really about marketing and continues to be. And so there was a sense that the structure or the model that we'd created, it no longer supported the business that I want to build now or what I want to be talking about and teaching about, the areas where I feel I can give the most contribution. And it just stopped reflecting the voice that I was ready to share, even though it was at one point and for many, many years exactly where I needed to be and what I needed to be sharing. And so I feel like I stopped growing personally within that structure. And that can happen when you do something for a long time, right? It can start to feel a bit the same. But we can keep doing something because it works, right? Which the mastermind does. The mastermind works. And sometimes it was something as simple as noticing that I was more excited about something else than maintaining what was already happening in my business. So the mastermind was still working really well. It was delivering value, but I started to feel like it wasn't the right program for me to headline anymore. Not for where I want to take her business and for the impact that I want to make on women's businesses right now in my business. But of course, anytime you feel a shift like that, the first question is always, wait, is this real? Am I just tired? Am I scared? Am I bored? And so I ask myself those questions. Am I tired? Am I scared? Or am I bored? Do I need a break? But what I was feeling, it wasn't fear, it wasn't boredom. It was something a little more profound. And it was me avoiding doing something hard. It was me wanting to just stop doing what I was doing because I felt really restless. And it was a deep knowing that this chapter in my business has done what it came to do and create what it came to create. And that holding on to the mastermind out of habit or loyalty or pride or for the money, which was a significant consideration as it has been our top money-making program for a number of years, that holding on to it was actually keeping me from stepping into the next evolution of her business. And for me, intuition feels calm. It's not frantic or fearful. It's this quiet truth, and that kept returning, but didn't make sense on paper. So this thought kept coming back, and it wasn't a once-off. If you're listening right now and you're wondering whether something in your business has run its course, I invite you to pause and tune in and ask yourself, is this fear or is this my inner wisdom asking me to let go so something new can grow and so I can grow? So there is understanding and recognizing that intuition. But the most challenging part is taking action once you do recognize that something needs to shift. And I can be so stubborn about listening to my intuition. I do not always take the clues when they first come to me. Letting go isn't easy for me. Whether it's letting go of a program or a car that I've loved or a sweater that I've loved, letting go is not easy for me. Because big decisions, like letting go of this program, they bring up big stories. Letting go of something like the mastermind, something successful, something that has helped so many women, it isn't easy. And one of the toughest parts isn't the decision itself, it's what the decision brings up. And I mentioned stories, and the stories are like, what will people think? What if I'm letting people down? What if I'm walking away from something valuable? What does it say about me if I stop doing this? There's a real sense of obligation, especially when you've poured years into something and genuinely love the people that you're working with. I love Michelle. I love the women in the mastermind. I love our masterminders so much. And I also noticed an identity piece. There was a version of me that was, well, I'm Susie from her business who runs the mastermind with Michelle. Is part of what we do, what we represent as her business. Having now for 10 years had, I believe, Australia's leading marketing mastermind for women business owners. And walking away from that meant redefining how I showed up, even to myself. But here's what I had to remember. We are allowed to evolve. Our businesses are meant to grow. We're meant to grow. And sometimes the bravest thing that we can do is release something, even when it's still working, to create space for what's next. With those stories, I mentioned come up fears, the very normal human fears. When you're thinking about letting go of something successful, as I said, a business, a program, a relationship, the fears can come up. What if people are disappointed in me? What if I regret this later and there's no turning back? What if this is a big mistake? What if I'm letting go of a really crucial part of my business? What about the income that I now need to make up from something else? And underneath all of that, there's also, what if I lose momentum? What if I become irrelevant? What if people don't understand why I'm doing this? And these fears are fears that I have felt, and they're fears that are normal. And they come up because you care, because I care. But what helped me was coming back to trust. I have reinvented my business and myself multiple times in the 30 years since I started my first business. Many times. So I wasn't making a knee-jerk decision. I'd sat with it. I listened deeply, I contemplated, I thought, I cried, I talked my decision through with trusted mentors and peers, I checked it against my long-term vision, and I reminded myself that letting go is not failure. And changing direction in our business isn't flakiness. Gosh, 10 years. Right? I don't think flakiness is a word that people associate with me, but anyway, it's a thought. And that making space isn't the same as starting over. It's actually starting richer. And the women in that mastermind program, they have shown nothing but praise and understanding and admiration when I told them. Some have even said they wish they were brave enough to let go of something that no longer felt aligned for them. And they said things like, thank you for modeling what you teach, that we want to be doing what we love every day. Thank you for stepping into the space that you're inviting us to step into, which is to create a business and a life that you love. So while letting go has been immensely difficult, I want to remind you of what opens up afterwards. And letting go of the mastermind has already started to open up a space for me, creatively, emotionally, strategically. Emotionally, I feel a lightness, a sense of relief to have made a decision, a quiet inner knowing that I'm coming back into alignment. And creatively, I feel more energy for ideas that are not fully formed. So I'm not saying, well, I got the answers, I'm moving into the next thing. But that I have energy for ideas that have been sitting quietly in the background, just bubbling away. But I haven't had any bandwidth to even explore them, to pull the thread to see if this is something I want to do next. And strategically, I'm excited to focus even more deeply on supporting the members inside of the Her Business Network in whatever way is right for them next, so that they can grow amazing businesses. And letting go of a program like a mastermind, which has a lot of moving parts and multiple in-person events and monthly calls and strategy sessions and Facebook groups and all those sorts of things in an online hub, it has actually freed up my team's capacity in the new year as well, and our systems, and most importantly, everyone's headspace. And it allows us to go deeper, ideally making a bigger impact, evolving. It's like pruning a healthy branch. So we pruned that offer, not because it wasn't working, but because pruning allows the whole tree, the whole business to grow in a healthy way. And as all of this was unfolding, I realized something else. Decisions like these, they really change us. They change us deeply. Decisions like this make us grow as leaders, because it's one thing to keep saying yes because it's expected. It's another thing entirely to pause, listen and say, this is no longer aligned and I'm willing to make a change, even if it's uncomfortable, even if I have to sit in a vacuum, in a void for a little while and not have the answers. This kind of decision, it builds self-trust. It reconnects you with your values. It strengthens your leadership. When we follow our intuition, especially when something doesn't make sense on paper, we get closer to the work we're truly meant to be doing. So if something in your business is feeling off, start paying attention. It's not something to brush off. That is your inner wisdom sending you a sign. Now, I know that you might be listening right now, right on the edge of a similar decision, but you're saying, but how do I actually do that? How do I actually phase something out? Especially if I've been doing it for years, especially if it actually works and it brings in income and profit. So let's have a think about the practical side. If you are ready to close a chapter, here's how to do it thoughtfully and strategically. First, get really clear on your why. Is it energy? Is it vision? Is it about your values? Is it knowing that there's something else for you to do? And really knowing your why is going to anchor your decision when you have those moments of doubt, if you find yourself wobbling. And the second is to communicate with care. This is the ultimate in responsibility. When something changes, be thoughtful, be transparent. Make sure you're acknowledging the thing you're letting go of and what it's meant to you, and communicate to those involved. Bring them in to the conversation early and fairly. And then look at what's next. Look at the ripple effect. What else needs to shift? So with us and the change we're making, we have to consider team, cash flow. What does this mean for our product and service range? What systems need to change? What planning? Zoom out and realign your business. And then fourth, actually create space before rushing into what's next. This one is really, really important. There can be the urge to rush to make a decision, and it's easy to panic and fill the gap with a new program or offer or partnership or project, whatever it is for you, that you haven't fully thought through. Don't do that. Take space, take time. Don't try and fill that gap too quickly. Your next aligned idea is always going to show up in that white space, in the gap, in the vacuum. And finally, trust that what is next will be the right thing for your path. It will be more aligned to your heart's desire. Trust yourself. Remember, you are not starting from scratch. This is an evolution. You have all this history, all this experience now, a deeper knowing of what's right for you right now. And this is evolution. And if you could see what's coming for you, what's coming for me, we wouldn't be able to contain our excitement. I am so deeply proud of what Michelle and her business team and I have built together with the mastermind. I'm so grateful for every conversation, every win, every breakthrough that's been shared inside of the mastermind over the last 10 years. I'm so grateful for the women who allowed us to hold them for 10 years and support them in their business growth. And this program was a co-creation, and Michelle's been such an integral part of its design and delivery from the very beginning. And I know that many of the women who listen to this show, they know Michelle, they know how amazing she is. And the good news is that the Mastermind program is going to continue under her leadership. And so thank you, Michelle, if you're listening, for being an amazing collaborator for the last 10 years. I love you forever. And this brings me to the heart of today's episode. If there's one thing I want you to take away, it's this. Always choose alignment over obligation. Just because something is successful on the outside, it doesn't mean it's still right for you on the inside. Your intuition is not a liability. Don't get annoyed with it. I know it can sometimes feel like a trickster, and you start second-guessing yourself. Listen to those whispers. Watch your mood. Imagine how it is to not have that thing in your life. And for you, it might be a person. It could be a team member. It could be a program. It could be a way of doing business. If it feels better for that thing to not have an active role in your life, in your business, then notice that. Tuning into your intuition is a leadership skill. It's something that you want to grow. And the more you practice listening to it, the stronger it becomes. And that means your business will continue to reflect who you are now. And who you are now is not who you were 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. As I'm talking this through, I'm realizing that this episode isn't just about me letting go and walking away from our top money earner, our marketing mastermind. It's actually about you. What is a part of your business or your identity that you have outgrown? And what might be possible if you gave yourself permission to walk away, to let it go? And in this conversation has brought up something for you, I would love to hear it. Just send me a message or journal it, or tell a friend about it. Sometimes just giving voice to, just naming what feels out of alignment is the most powerful first step that you can take. You don't have to figure it all out right away, but just follow that whisper, follow that nudge. So I want to say thank you for being here with me today. Thank you for being with me every day. This episode is part of something I'm seeing across our whole community. Women who are stepping into new chapters, they're choosing more alignment, they're choosing business models that support them, they're choosing to trust themselves more, they're choosing to do business by their rules, right? The tagline for this show is your business, your rules. And as I said, if this episode sparks something for you, if you're sitting with a big decision or you're feeling that whisper that something needs to shift, you don't have to navigate that alone. Just send me a DM on Instagram or connect with me on LinkedIn and tell me what's feeling off or what needs to change. And sometimes that clarity can come through a conversation. And if you want deeper support in making more aligned decisions, in designing your business for whatever it needs to look like going forward, then the Her Business Network is the perfect place for that. In fact, it's where conversations like this are normal and supported. And if you're not a member of the Her Business Network, you can apply right now at herbusinessnetwork.com. It takes us about 72 hours to get back to you to approve your application, and we can go from there. If you are a member of the Her Business Network, I'm so excited for what's ahead for all of us. And to you here listening right now, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for trusting me with your time. Thank you for being a woman in business who is brave enough to evolve. And here's what I'm going to do. In a moment, I'm going to share some lovely words from one of our listeners and who is actually one of our members. And then I'm going to tell you where I'm going to put a reference to the things that we've talked about here today. So My shout out today, and I love doing these shout outs because I love it when I see a rating or a review, it just lights me up, is to Joey Ballantyne of Grit and Grace Collective. Now, I got the opportunity to meet Joey face to face at an event just a couple of months ago. And what she does is she delivers world leading professional development for neurodivergent women so that they can reframe their differences as superpowers. They can work smarter, not harder, and they can belong without feeling like they need to fit in. And she gave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, and she said, the go-to for women in business. Susie and the Her Business team are my go-to for business support. I belong to the Her Business membership, and I listen to Susie's podcast for specific and tactical advice on specific projects I'm focused on. It's great having a mentor who's been there and done that successfully. So thank you so much, Joey. I appreciate it more than I can say. We're going to put a link to Joey's website over on our show notes page. So if you are a woman who is a professional and who is looking to feel more like you fit in and that you can use your neurodivergent ways in a way that's a superpower, then definitely check out the work she's doing. If you enjoyed this episode, we would love it if you would leave us a rating or a review on Apple Podcasts, or you can shoot me a message directly, as I mentioned, on Instagram. You'll find us at Her Business on Instagram. Once again, on our website at herbusiness.com/340, you're going to find a summary of today's episode and links to the resources that I've mentioned. If you are a new listener to the show, we've got lots of great episodes coming up, amazing interviews with really inspiring guests. So just hit subscribe or follow wherever you are listening and join us right here for the next episode of Her Business. And that is coming out a week from now. Bye for now. I'll see you then.